Okay, everybody, this is Sheets, and I'm going to be going over the NASCAR All-Star Race, which is tomorrow night. And this is one of the coolest races that I can imagine from a DFS perspective, because you don't even know who's going to be in it until probably 20 minutes till it starts. I'll go over that, but I'm not even going to be around. Well, I'm going to make sure I'm around with about 15 minutes before lock, because it might not be until then that we really know who's even racing. Because the way this works is there are 16 drivers that already have taken their positions. They drew 1 through 16, and then there are 5 positions which are based on the results of a qualifying race, which goes off an hour and a half before. 4 stage winners from that race make the All-Star race, as well as someone who gets voted in by the public. So when you go into the DraftKings lobby, you'll see all these Q tags by all these drivers. And what that means that they are in the open race, which is the qualifying race beforehand, and 5 of them are going to make it in. You just don't know which they're going to be yet. I can tell you that it's pretty much a lock that Bubba Wallace is going to get the fans vote slot. So we're really competing for 4 other positions. Now, what I don't know, and this is my own ignorance, I'm sure by the time I hang this recording up, I will know the answer, but what if Wallace, for example, actually wins one of the stages? Does the second vote getter get the spot, or does whoever's second in the stage gets the spot? I'm sure there's an answer. I just haven't really looked it up yet. I apologize. So, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to analyze this, and we're going to do some what ifs, right? We're going to talk about these guys that could make it in, and I'll let you know which one of them I would play if they made it in or not. And we know what place position they're going to go in, somewhere between 16 and 20, okay? So I'll let you know as we go through them who I like. Now, as far as this track goes, this is fun. I mean, I make the analogy from time to time of harness racing. These big tracks being like the Meadowlands, and then these huge, tiny tracks being like Yonkers, like this track at Bristol. Tiny little track, half a mile, big bowl-shaped track, and it's, very, very tight. It's very difficult to get any kind of real run out of your car before you're into the next turn. And for me, what that means, it's going to put a real premium on driver skill. Like you're not going to be able to be kind of a middle of the road driver and win this race. You're going to have to be able to maneuver. You're going to have to be able to fight. And also, some of these more experienced drivers that don't really have the fast cars, I think are in really, I think I want to play those in situations like this, where that big, green light speed is not as big of a deal, because you're not going to have those big runs. You have to be the person that's aggressive enough yet avoid wrecks, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see these guys really put on the show. And so that's that. Now, with that said, being a tight track, you are going to want some guys that can lead some laps to get those dominator points. So on the one hand, you want the guys that are in the back, because there could be wrecks here, and could be pretty bunched up because of these tight turns. On the other hand, you do have those dominator points to distribute. So there are guys that I can toss really, really quickly out of this, and those are going to be the guys near the front that are just not going to get the lead. It's not going to do anything. And so just to review who those are, it's going to be Alex Bowman from the 2, Custer from the 8, Haley from the 4, Kenseth from the 6, Busch from the 7. Like those guys, I just don't think they don't have the upside, I think, to get there. So what we're talking about then with dominators is these guys that are good drivers that have good enough cars. Let's put it that way. Okay, so what we're talking about is Martin Truex from the pole, and what I think makes him really, really intriguing is that, like I said, I think his car has not been as fast as some of these others. I think he's just really been a middle of the road car, and yet there's no denying his ability over the years. So, he's got the pole. He's got a slow guy. He's got Bowman right outside of him. And I shouldn't say outside of him, because one of the other things about this track is that you can pick your lane. If you have the pole, you can start on the outside if you feel like it. So if he feels as though the outside's better, I mean, he'll figure that out. And you just got to pick a lane and designate it and then just go on with it. So I do think that Truex is a very, very strong play at that price. Just go out and lead some laps. Very experienced driver. You don't run the risk of crashing when everybody else is just fighting behind you. So there's him. The other guy who could get the lead pretty quickly, I think, if Truex is not good, is going to be Blaney from 3. He's going to be following Truex right around, and he could probably overtake Bowman easily. And again, if Truex's car is that slow, and Blaney always has one of the faster cars, he could just blow by, and he can lead a bunch of laps, and certainly has winning upside for sure. He doesn't have that place differential upside, but he could be that guy who just blows the race open. It's unlikely that anybody's going to have to even pit if they don't want to. So we'll see. The other guys that I think fit the bill here are going to be Harvick, who again, he's a freaking genius. He's a great, great driver. And, his car's fast enough that his driving ability also can get him a win, or can get him the lead, or both, So I think those 3 guys are very, very strong plays as far as dominators go. And the next guy that I would mention, who I'm going to be playing a lot of, who just – this is the guy who fits the bill for me is Kozlowski, because I usually don't play him because he always seems to luck into positions. You know what I mean? Like he's never really has the fastest car. He either benefits from somebody wrecking, or there was some weird pit thing that happened last week where he has inherited the lead somehow, and the guy's just blessed. Okay. But he does some very aggressive things with the car. He's very, very he's very sneaky, and that's the type of guy I want. He does have winning upside from this position. I don't know if he can get to the lead per se, but he can get some fastest laps maybe. And he does have a little bit of place differential, and, he's probably the next guy to have that combination of being able to get dominator points and winning. Remember? Because, you have these guys. Don't forget, you have Truex and Blaney and Harvick like this. To get to the lead past all 3 of those guys, you got to be really good. So, for those of you that are really just, sitting back and playing some of these other guys in the back, you're really playing with a lot of wreck equity. Yeah, you have place differential, but it's not like you're in the 30 hole. Danny Hamlin's going to be really, really popular from the 15. Okay, he's probably a good play, but I'm not giving him the win at any point. You know what I mean? He's going to have to do some serious work to get past all these guys at some point. So, we'll get there. Next thing I want to talk about is Kyle Busch. And again, I said this last week. I'm going to say it again. I'm very, very happy that I don't have years of experience doing NASCAR, because I'm not poisoned. I'm not poisoned with this idea that Kyle Busch is just so great. And look, all I know is what I see, and what I see is that he's just done nothing. He's won a truck race. That's as far as I can see. He's been chalk. He's been expensive. He's been expensive and chalk. He can't win from behind. He can't win from the pole. He can't win anywhere. He just can't. And he doesn't lead laps. He doesn't win. He doesn't do anything. He just doesn't. And there's always some excuse. There's always some whatever. And he's just, I don't know what it is, but if he was supposedly good at this track 9 years ago or whatever it is, I mean, you can keep it. If he's going to be chalk and popular again, you know what? Why it's going to happen? Because people are just stubborn. They just keep playing these guys. They're like, well, I keep playing him every week. I can't not play him now because if he goes off and I don't play him, I'm going to kill him. You can't look at life that way. You can't look at investing that way. I'll do a stock market analysis one day where I describe this philosophy, but just because you played him 10 weeks in a row and got broke 10 weeks in a row doesn't mean that you have to keep playing him. I don't know what's wrong, but the guy, I don't want to say the guy stinks, whatever. Obviously, he's got some kind of history, but certainly not since I've been doing this. So you can have him as far as I'm concerned. Let him beat me, especially if he's going to be chalk again. Is that real? I mean, no thanks. Ryan Newman could be a nice low, I don't say low owned. I don't know how low owned anybody's going to be a 20 driver field, but certainly cheap at 6,900. Is he going to win the race? No, but if he could sneak into the top 5 somehow, that's going to be good enough at 6,900. So I am going to be playing some of him. Now you get to these place differential plays, which are, they're very strong. Logano from the 12, Elliott from the 13. I think those guys, I prefer those to Jimmy Johnson. Even though Jimmy Johnson's cheaper, I just feel as though Jimmy Johnson's just not quite at the same level as Elliott and Logano. And again, I don't want to hear it about the track history from 7 years ago. I'm just not interested. If you're a good driver, decent enough car, I'm going to try it. Okay. And with any luck, I can get these guys at lower ownership. And I will say that I think course history on this track makes a little more sense than some of these other bigger tracks. So there seems a little bit of more of a finesse involved in playing these high banking tracks or whatever. But these guys are all professionals. I mean, I really don't think that you can say with great certainty that like Martin Truex is much worse at this type of track than he is at something else. I'm just not, someone's got to have to prove that to me. So you have these place differential plays, and then you have, which is probably going to be more chalk also, is Eric Jones. Again, he's going to be the 16 post position, so he's going to have that good place differential floor. But once again, he's good, but is he better than Hamlin, for example? Well, I mean, he's 7,200, so I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's kind of a rough thing to fade. I mean, you got that place differential, and he's a competent driver, and he's 7,200. Yeah, that's tough. But what's going to be fun is these guys from 17 to 20. Okay, so I just want to I'm going to presume they all come in the same, relatively similar with respect to place differential. In other words, I'm going to presume they all come in somewhere between 17 and 20. I'm not going to, I'm not going to nitpick with respect to this video. So I just want to tell you the guys that I'm going to play, because I'm probably going to play all these guys. Either one of them, two of them, something like that, if they make it. So here are the guys I think are just kind of good drivers out of these guys that can do it. I think all of them, like Boyer, Bell, Byron, Wallace. I'm just looking at all these cues. Almirola. DiBenedetto is fine. Stenhouse, if he could somehow sneak in at 6K, I think I might end up having him in all my lineups. If I can actually get him at 6K in the 19 hole or something like that, I mean, he can do some things. He hasn't been lighting the world on fire, but I know that he can do some things. So if he sneaks into this field by winning a stage and he goes off at 6K, I'd be into that. I'd be into Reddick at 6,100. And I'd be into, I don't think I could do McDowell. It seems like a perfect track for him to wreck on. It just does. Nemechek, I don't think I'd play him. Buescher, I would play him if he got in there. So, and Dylan maybe a little bit. So for me, I am going to play a minimum of, I was going to say 2. But at least one of these qualifiers in there, because you're going to get drivers that are driving well, and they're going to get a run over the track, right? they're going to get to play, on the surface before everybody else does. And to me, I mean, that's huge. No, I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but they get those practice laps, but it's not even practice laps. They get those laps in game. So you get a car, you get a driver who knows the ins and outs of the track, and you get them placed in the back so that you can get that place differential floor. I think all these cues are just, you could almost stack these cues. Now, I'm not going to place like guys like, Suarez. I don't know about that, but Boyer, Bell, Byron, all these guys. I would love for guys like Tyler Reddick and Dillon, even Austin Dillon, Ty Dillon, as I have in my lineup here. I'd love for them to make it, because if you can get those guys cheap, these guys are very, very strong floors down there. Again, just be ready, because who knows when these things actually happen? Who knows? I wonder what happens if, I hope DraftKings figure this out, but what happens if the 7 p.m. open race gets postponed by rain? Let's say it's delayed by a half an hour or something like that, or 45 minutes. I hope that they would unlock the 8:30 contest, right? But who knows? So you got to be on your toes with this one. But I think it's a fun race to handicap, and it should be a really fun race to watch. And hopefully it will have made a fun race to have created some DK lineups for. So just so you know what I have, so I'm playing the guys that I mentioned. I'm going to have a lot of Blaney, a lot of Harvick, a lot of Truex from those 1, 3, 5 positions. And then Hamlin I mentioned, Keselowski, play a lot of him, Elliott, Eric Jones, and then play a lot of these Qs. And depending on who gets in, those will all play. All right, that's about it. Lots of action this week. MMA and NASCAR tomorrow. Then we have PGA Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then more NASCAR. Infinity Saturday, another race Sunday. Let's go.